On the outside, the Swift sports a sleek and modern design. Suzuki have introduced a new Horizon design line that wraps around the vehicle, creating a sense of motion. Rounded shoulder lines give it a sporty edge, while the iconic Suzuki badge proudly sits at the front of the bonnet. Lower headlight positions and L-shaped daytime running lights not only enhance visibility, but also add a touch of sophistication. And check out those clear rear tailgate lights.
Good morning, this is ABC Ballarat and Southwest Victoria News. I'm Jean Bell. The Victorian Government released its final transmission plan over the weekend, which it says will help the state reach nearly 100% renewable energy over the next decade. Philippe Perez reports.
The Vic Grid plan will cover nearly 8% of Victoria's landmass in the next 15 years, with about 18 gigawatts of solar and wind electricity. 9 gigawatts of offshore wind electricity is also expected to be secured in the same time frame. The plan outlines 6 onshore renewable energy zones, including a central Highlands zone situated west and south of Ballarat. The southwest zone is split into 2 sections, one northwest of Hamilton between Casterton and Balmoral, the other southeast of Hamilton between Macarthur and Darlington.
Some Western Victorian farmers say they have not felt heard during the development of the state government's energy transition plan. Manu farmer Ben Duxon says producers have been sidelined in consultation and is concerned the projects will destroy agricultural land.
Interesting to read that community and industry views have been critical to the design of this 2025 Victorian transmission plan, and from our case that's never been the case. We've never ever been heard in 3 years of protesting against this.
A number of family and domestic violence support organisations are calling on the AFL to remove American rapper Snoop Dogg as the event's main musical performer. In a joint statement, anti-violence organisations say the rapper's history of misogynistic lyrics make him an ill-considered choice in the midst of an epidemic of violence against women. Victoria Police has previously reported a 20% increase in domestic violence on AFL Grand Final Day. Centre Against Violence CEO Jamie Chubb says it's an important issue, but wants to see the AFL and local clubs do more year-round to combat the issue.
The role between sport and violence against women and children is really, really connected. Local grand finals spike violence as much as the AFL grand final does, so we all need to be aware that what's happening in our own neighbourhoods and our own communities is just as important for us to be focused on.
A man charged in relation to an armed robbery and assault in a Ballarat fast food restaurant is expected to face court today. Olivia Sanders reports.
Police allege the man entered a fast food restaurant at a shopping centre on Gillies Street just after 3 o'clock last Wednesday afternoon, where he stole 2 drinks before assaulting a staff member. A 31-year-old man was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. An 18-year-old Ballarat man was arrested at the local train station later that evening. He was charged with armed robbery, intentionally causing injury, assault with a weapon and theft. The teenager was remanded in custody and is scheduled to appear in the Ballarat Magistrates Court today.
An Indigenous ceremonial dance space has opened on the Portland foreshore. The project received $900,000 from the state government, which says the area shares Gunditjmara culture with locals and visitors alike. The dance space uses will include cultural ceremonies, education and truth-telling. New lighting has also been installed along the 1.3-kilometre beachfront pedestrian pathway. Southwest Victorian farmers can now apply to be part of a new employment program aimed at supporting agriculture businesses doing it tough through the drought. The state government-funded program provides local jobs for farmers or their employees to undertake a range of ecological works through the Glenelg Hopkins and Corangamite Catchment Management Authorities. CEO of the Glenelg Hopkins CMA, Adam Bester, says the program is designed to be as flexible as possible to suit different employment needs.
Some people might have lost their job until the summer period, for example, and then they can kick back into working on the farm. Or even if they've got reduced employment at the moment where they only might be working 1 or 2 days a week, we can then come in and give them full-time employment if that's what they need.
And Hepburn Shire Council says it has significantly reduced the amount of waste going to landfill since the Food and Garden Organic Service was rolled out. The council says since the Greens Waste program was implemented, over 1,000 tonnes of curbside organic material has been collected, which is then turned into compost and used on trees and parks across the Shire. This has increased the landfill diversion rate to about 60%. Childcare giant Good Start failed to properly report complaints about a male foster carer and childcare worker accused of alleged sexual behaviour and grooming. Eden Hennanen reports.
The man, who can't be identified, worked at 5 childcare centres in the Ballarat region and was also a foster carer. The ABC understands he was banned by the Education Department from working with children, but continues to hold a valid working with children check. Good Start has confirmed there were 12 allegations against the man, including sexual behaviour and grooming towards a foster child. Those complaints were not reported properly, allowing him to continue to work with children for a further 11 months and sustaining 2 further allegations of sexual abuse against children. Victoria Police have recently told parents there was insufficient evidence to charge the man.
The Mayor of Glenelg Shire says council is disappointed the state government has excluded it from its proposed renewable energy zones. VicGrid has released its draft transmission plan, which outlines 6 zones across the state, including one in the southwest. The draft plan does not include any area of the Glenelg Shire, despite the council requesting industrial zones in Portland and areas near the existing transmission lines be included. Mayor Karen Stevens says the area should have been included due to the number of energy projects and the proximity to the Portland aluminium smelter.
And at the time we were miffed, and I suppose we're still miffed, as to why Glenelg has been left out of any renewable energy zone, given that we do have high voltage power lines running right through our shire.
VicGrid says it considered the council's submissions. However, there is limited suitable land available in and around Portland for development, and it doesn't stop projects going ahead outside the zone. A regional Victorian council says the future of its local Vic Roads office hangs in the balance following a state government decision to stop covering costs. Julia Bergen reports.
The Central Goldfields Shire Council says it's assessing whether it can keep its Maryborough Vic Roads office open. In July, the Victorian government changed its funding for the regional office to a fee-by-transaction model. While the state government previously covered all costs, it is now on council to fund the bulk of services. Central Goldfields Shire is conducting a review into the continuation of the office, but says it's not possible to wholly subsidise a Vic Roads service. It says it expects the office to cost ratepayers hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. Vic Roads has been contacted for comment.
Vic Roads says most of its services can now be delivered digitally, and it will work with council to ensure the right services in Maryborough continue. A new literacy program at Langi Prison is aiming to reduce reoffending rates by getting inmates to practice their reading for just 20 minutes a day. Funded by World Australia, the Buddy Up program is based off a peer-led model where participants are mentored by other inmates to improve their literacy skills. World Australia's Ben Mitchell says the program helps to break down barriers and create pathways into meaningful employment for people in the prison system.
And just the empowerment that they've got as a result of this, their confidence has grown. One learner went from having a reading comprehension rate of a year 2 to a reading comprehension of a year 10 in that 4-month period, just by 20 minutes a day.
A new school campus has opened in Outer Ballarat, aiming to reduce barriers to education for rural students. Designed to complement the Ballarat campus, Saints College in Bungaree offers supported learning in a rural environment for students in years 7 to 12. Deputy CEO of Edmund Rice Education, Chloe Hand, says the college offers smaller classes supported by both a teacher and a youth wellbeing worker.
And the point of that is to make sure that the youth worker can support the young person, and if they say that there might be something going on, or they might not have had breakfast before they got to school, or they don't have a warm jumper, the youth worker and teacher would work in partnership to make sure that young person has all those needs addressed.
And the authority managing the Apollo Bay port has revoked a previous ruling that stopped freight vessels using the facility. The Great Ocean Road Coast and Parks Authority has removed restrictions on freight vessels at the port, which is mainly a tourist destination with some commercial fishers. The authority says the change does not automatically approve any current applications, and it will assess future applications on merit. The National Children's Commissioner says working with children's check reforms announced on Friday are a start, but don't go far enough. It comes after an ABC investigation revealed a male worker who allegedly sexually assaulted 2 children in his care is still listed as having a current working with children check, despite being barred from working in early childhood centres. National Children's Commissioner Anne Highlands says substantiated misconduct claims are only part of the check in some states.
In other states, it's only a previous criminal conviction, which is almost impossible to do. We know that a level of evidence that leads to a criminal conviction is very hard to get in these situations. So,
how to recognise signs of potential abuse and proactively protect children will be among the topics discussed at an online child safety event next Tuesday. The Sexual Assault and Family Violence Centre is hosting a free webinar for families, caregivers and early childhood educators in the Barwon, Wimmera and South West Victoria region. The centre's CEO, Kerry-Ann Campbell-Jones, says child safety is a responsibility shared by everyone in a child's life.
It's really important that we understand what's healthy developmental behaviours versus behaviours that might be of concern. And in very young children, it's very hard to determine what that might look like. And this webinar will help parents and guardians think through what they're observing, what they're hearing.
A Victorian man who pled guilty in June to threatening to kill Independent Senator Fatima Payman over email has been released on bail. Olivia Sanders reports.
51-year-old Ballarat man Sean David Sharman faced the Ballarat Magistrates Court yesterday, charged with using a carriage service to make a threat to kill. The charge relates to 2 emails sent to Western Australia Senator Fatima Payman in March, in which the accused called the senator a domestic terrorist and made death threats. In a victim impact statement read in court, Senator Payman wrote that the threats and vile language had a significant impact on her mental health. The judge condemned the offending as disgraceful, racist and xenophobic. Mr. Sharman has been released on bail to attend an alcohol detox program and will return to court in November.
A person has been taken to hospital following a car crash northeast of Ararat yesterday. Emergency services responded to the collision between 2 vehicles at Dunworthy just before 8 o'clock yesterday morning. Paramedics attended the scene and 1 person was taken to Ballarat Hospital, where they remain in a stable condition. Victoria Police says it has received thousands of alerts through a text messaging tool for the public to report unwanted sexual and antisocial behaviour on public transport. Laura Mayers reports.
In July 2022, Victoria Police launched the Stop It app, a national first police messaging service aimed at addressing safety concerns and inappropriate behaviour via text. Since it was introduced to the public, authorities have received over 5,700 notifications. Police say the messages have led to 300 formal investigations and more than 60 arrests across the state. Victoria Police say less than 10% of messages come from commuters on regional trains, with just 388 notifications in its 3 years of use.
And space experts have descended on farmland in Western Victoria as they hunt for a meteorite that lit up the state's skies a week and a half ago. Monash University planetary geologist Rachel Kirby is leading the search team, which scoured 4 properties in southwest Victoria yesterday. Ms. Kirby says the space rock was likely the size of a football, and although the team didn't find it on the first full day of searching, they would be back out to continue the search soon.
I am slightly, of course, disappointed that we didn't find it, but we did cover some really great ground and contact some landowners, so all in all a very positive day. We were able to at least knock off a large chunk of the search area.
The federal member for Ballarat says she is deeply disturbed following an ABC investigation into allegations of child sexual abuse by a male educator at a Good Start Earling Centre campus in the Ballarat region. Laura Mayers reports.
This week, the ABC revealed a regional Victorian childcare worker was accused of sexually assaulting 2 children and allegedly grooming another child. Good Start Early Learning Centre was made aware of 12 allegations against the male worker dating back to September 2023. The man worked at 5 Good Start Early Learning Centres in the Ballarat region between 2020 and 2024. Federal Ballarat MP Catherine King says safety in education is at the top of the federal government's agenda, but admitted more needed to be done to improve the sector.
The Australian Education Union has welcomed the Victorian Government's planned childcare reforms, but says more needs to be done to protect educators who want to report safety concerns. The state government yesterday accepted all 22 recommendations from a damning safety review, which found profit-driven companies and weak regulators were failing children. Union spokesperson Justin Mullally says there needs to be better channels for staff and carers to confidentially report issues.
We've had too many instances where educators and teachers have been unable to speak up because they fear that they won't be listened to, or worse, that they'll actually put their own employment at risk.
Authorities are investigating the cause of a barn fire on a central Victorian property yesterday afternoon, which destroyed hay bales, a tractor and a caravan. 14 fire trucks were deployed to fight the blaze in Colebrook, where firefighters say they found a 30 by 10 metre open shed on fire. Several tankers were also called due to a lack of water access and low dam levels in the area. Emergency services say the landowner received minor burns to his hand. Southwest Victorian residents gathered around a 130-year-old tree yesterday to protest the proposed Western Renewables link. The group of 65 Kingston residents say the project's transmission lines will cross directly over its Algerian oak tree. In 2023, the tree was placed on the National Trust Register of Significant Trees. Despite the listing, rally organiser Jeremy Harper says this offers no legal protection and the tree will be removed by AusNet if the towers go ahead.
It was a lovely way of honouring the tree and the bridge and the reserve, and hoping that this pressure can change AusNet's mind and they can find another route or do whatever they need to do to save the tree.
Police are appealing for a man who intervened in an alleged armed robbery in Ballarat last month to come forward with information. It's believed the offender approached two teenage boys at the intersection of Sturt and Lyons Street about 7 a.m. on July 29th and demanded the boys hand over their mobile phones. A man has been arrested, but police are hoping to speak to a man who interrupted the alleged offender, causing him to run away. Anyone with information is urged to contact Ballarat Police. The former Deputy Commissioner of the Yurok Justice Commission has been appointed a leadership role at Melbourne University's new Centre for Truth-Telling and Dialogue. The University of Melbourne says the centre will open next year with the goal to strengthen its role as a leader in Indigenous-led truth-telling, justice and reconciliation through partnerships with First Nations peoples. Kiritmara Gunditjmara man Travis Lovett says he's excited to help establish the centre as its executive director and set a blueprint for the work it will do.
It's a world-leading university, but it's also world-leading truth-telling work that we will be undertaking. We will be looking to collaborate with other universities right across the world around some of the things that they're doing around truth-telling. But again, it needs to be underpinned by our people's voices, our lived experiences.
And Corangamite Shire Council is asking for residents' feedback for a Kooris River catchment flood study. The council will hold community consultation sessions in Cobden and Timboon next Thursday. A Shire spokesperson says the feedback will be used to help assess future flood risk and update planning schemes aimed at protecting properties from flood. A disability worker says group home services are at risk of failing if there's no shift in state government funding policy. A 6-year agreement in place between the Victorian Government and over 400 specialist disability accommodation services is due to end in December this year. In 2019, the group home services for people with complex physical needs were transferred from government to private ownership, but the state government has continued to provide money for the services. Long-time group home worker Tony says that without that top-up funding, private operators won't be able to maintain the standard of care currently available.
Could develop into a real crisis where providers walk away, workforce is diminished because people aren't being paid what they should be. That could see a lot of staff leave the sector, go to aged care, childcare, all those sort of things, and group homes could close.
The Department of Families, Fairness and Housing did not respond to the ABC's questions on the matter. Ballarat police are calling on drivers who may have witnessed a road incident earlier this month to come forward. Coco van der Kelp reports. Authorities say on August 7, a silver sedan was abandoned by a 29-year-old Port Fairy man in Britain Street, Mount Pleasant, after being chased by police helicopters. Police say when the abandoned vehicle began rolling downhill, another driver was forced to take evasive action. Detectives are seeking the identity of the driver for a witness statement. The 29-year-old offender was arrested and has been charged with 15 offences, including intentionally causing injury, theft of a motor vehicle, and drug possession. He will appear in the Melbourne Magistrates Court in late October. Union workers at a South West Victorian social support agency have Fair Work Commission clearance to strike if a pay dispute with the organisation is not settled. Brophy Family and Youth Services offers wages at 1.5% above award rates, but union members want this to be increased to 2.5%. Australian Services Union delegate and Brophy employee Zoe Darman says union members are currently considering a draft enterprise agreement and will vote on next steps.
It doesn't seem like a large amount of money, but from on the ground, for that individual to not have to worry about where you're going to get the money to pay for your phone bill or pay for bread and milk that week can make a big difference.
Brophy Family and Youth Services was approached for comment. Ballarat police have charged 2 offenders after the pair allegedly tried to break into a Soldiers Hill home with a knife. Police say the victim called 000 while the duo allegedly tried to break into their home. A 55-year-old Wendouree man and a 28-year-old woman from Mount Pleasant were arrested and charged with attempted burglary and drug possession. The Victorian Supreme Court has overturned a ban on commercial net fishing at Portland on the state's southwest coast. Wade Stevens reports.
In 2023, the Victorian Fisheries Authority prohibited the use of particular fishing equipment, including mesh and trawl nets, within Portland Bay. The following year, commercial fisher Philip McAdams challenged the ban in the Supreme Court. It was dismissed, but that decision has now been reversed. This week, a Court of Appeal ordered the ban was not legally valid and wholly void. The Victorian Fisheries Authority says it accepts the court decision and is reviewing how it impacts commercial fishing around Portland Bay.
Ballarat bike riders will soon have a safer and more accessible path through major routes in the city. The MacArthur Street Shared Path project will improve bike lanes from Ballarat Station, Lake Wendouree and Wendouree stations. The $800,000 project will see raised path crossings at Burnbank Street and Wendouree Parade. The new path will also include better lighting to improve safety. And the Hamilton Skate Park is now open after recent upgrades were completed. Southern Grampians Shire Council says the works include the replacement of a deteriorated metal pyramid, along with repairs to broken down concrete in surrounding areas. The council says the project is part of a broader strategy to enhance the Shire's recreational areas. The result of a reserves football final has been overturned in the state's southwest after the winning team included what the league says were ineligible players. Tarandara will go on into the semi-final in the Southwest District Football Netball League, despite losing 80-19 in the match played against Coleraine on Saturday at Cavendish. The league says Coleraine can appeal the decision. For more news and stories, search for your local ABC station online. That's ABC News.
Unleash your vehicle's power beyond limits. Discover our exclusive range of Yuasa automotive batteries, engineered for unparalleled reliability and performance to power your journey like never before. Battery World. Power your passion.